In this example, we're going to try to figure out how we can find the slope of a line when we're given 2 points. In this example, we're given coordinate pairs, but in the format of a table. So before we can begin, we need to turn these into coordinates that we can use. So if I'm thinking about my coordinates, they're xy coordinates. So that means there's a value of x and a value of y that are related. So in this table, we see here that this value of x, when you input that, you get an output of 14, and that is your y. So we have one coordinate that is 3, 14. And then moving down our chart, we can also see when I put in 7, I get out 34. So I can create a second point that is 7, 34. Now it doesn't matter which points I use on this chart, but I like to use the smaller numbers because they're a little bit easier to work with. So now that we have our points, we need to think about what slope is. And we've talked about slope being the rate of change. We've talked about it being rise over run. But the most helpful definition right now is going to be the definition that slope equals the change in y over the change in x. This means from getting from one coordinate to the other, how much is the y changing, and we're going to divide that by how much the x is changing. So we can also write this as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now this looks like a lot of numbers, but these subscripts are just telling us which point we're using. So here y2 and x2 mean that those values belong to our second point. And y1 and x1 mean that those values are going to belong to our first point. So we know that each point is made of an x and a y. But in order to help us keep them straight, I want to take my first point and use the subscripts of 1, so x1 and y1. And my second point is going to get the subscript of 2, x2 and y2. Now using this definition of slope, we're just going to plug in these points into our definition to help us figure out what slope is. So first I want to figure out y2. So I'm looking at my second point, and the second part of that is the y part. So y2 in this example is 34. And we're going to subtract that because we want to find the difference of y1 or y2 and y1. So we take 34 minus y1 is 14. So we're going to take 34 minus 14 and divide that from x2, which is found in our second point. So 7 minus x1, x1 in this case is 3. So we now have 34 minus 14 divided by 7 minus 3. And we can simplify this. 34 minus 14 is 20. And we divide that by 7 minus 3 is 4, which can be simplified even further to get to 5. So since we've used this definition of slope to get these numbers and simplify, this tells us that m in this situation, which is slope, is equal to 5.